Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic I want to discuss with you in full detail, can I roll over a 401k while still employed? And this is a common mistake that individuals don't realize. And, if they are eligible to do that rollover, it could really impact the way on how they set up their retirement planning, and whether that's on an accumulation stage or it's on a income preservation and distribution phase. There's a couple different things that an individual is eligible for. Most likely, if you're reviewing this video, you have accumulated a portion of your salary per month, per year into a 401k account, which is deemed a qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan. So each and every year that an individual was working, that they were placing dollars into this 401k account, they could take a portion of their salary to place it into, and kind of think of this 401k account as a 401k bucket. So if a person was making $100,000 in a given year and they put 5% of their salary into this type of product or into this type of plan, then at the end of the year, it's going to show their adjusted gross income as only making $95,000. Their monies went into this bucket pre-tax, meaning they received a tax deduction, and it allows it to now grow. So theoretically, if somebody had a fixed account, had fixed options in their 401k that was paying, 1%, well, each dollar that they're placing into this plan and that increment, that return, that rate of return that's coming back, is going to obviously increase that bucket larger and larger and larger. Now, individuals understand that they want to try to grow this puppy as fast as possible, as much as possible. So what they do is they say, okay, well, rather than going to my fixed account option, I'm typically going to have about 5 to 20 different options tied to mutual funds with my 401k. So it's going to be a combination, a mixture of stocks and bonds that I could try to correlate this interest credit to. So if I'm placing in $5,000 in a year and the market comes back with a 10% gain, well, obviously I have a larger gain. I have a larger amount of money in my bucket than taking that fixed account. So it's basically a higher risk, higher rate of return. The risk factor is if you're investing in the market, just like what the market does and what it did in 2008, if the market goes down, your entire portfolio could go down with it. So you had individuals that walked into 2008 with 500,000 into their portfolio, walked out of that year with 300,000 into their portfolio, even though they were consistently placing dollars aside. So I hope that all of that makes sense. The benefits of a 401k are typically tied to employee match or employer match. And what I mean by that is, just like this bucket, some companies, they try to retain employees at their company, and they say, hey, listen, we're giving you a salary, and also we might give you a 5% match, a 2% match, a 3% match into your 401k account. So what the match means is, let's say that same example where somebody is making $100,000 and they decide to put $5,000 of their salary into this 401k plan, that's 5%. So if the company is matching this person 5%, the individual is placing 5,000 into the plan. The employer is also placing 5,000 into the plan. So now you have $10,000 that are starting up into that plan, and then you have it tied to those different, 5 to 20 different mutual fund options to choose from. If, let's say, somebody has a 2% match and somebody placed in 5% of their salary, well, they'd place in 5,000 and they're only receiving $2,000. 3%, they're placing in 5,000, they're only receiving $3,000. So typically, rule of thumb is to say you want to place in exactly what that match is, because those are free monies. Now, when you're looking to roll over your 401k, and you're still employed, that match doesn't go away. It's not as if you just took all your money out and now you have no more benefits with the 401k. The downside to the 401k are these limited options to choose from. So just like anything, if you're investing in something, you want to make sure for every dollar you're placing your monies into, you're getting the best value. So if you could go into IRA accounts, if you're eligible for a 401k rollover into an IRA, you might have options with an IRA of 2,000 different options. 500 different options to choose from, as opposed to the ones that you're handcuffed with that 5 to 20. So you have essentially more eggs in your basket. Some qualifying events that would allow somebody to roll it over, and the reason why you want to roll over this money and not pull out this money and place it into your checking account, because like I mentioned before, this is deemed a qualified retirement plan. When you roll over your monies into an IRA, a traditional IRA, that's also deemed a qualified retirement plan. So this is not as if you're taking a full distribution. This just says that yes, you're keeping it within like terms, qualified to qualified, and that's why it's known as a rollover, because it's not going 401k. If it was a 401k to a 401k, that'd be known as a transfer, because it's into a different entity that's known as a rollover. Just like when somebody has an IRA and they're placing it into another IRA, that's known as a transfer. If they took their IRA and they placed it into something else, that could be qualified as a rollover. So the importance of this, what qualifies somebody for a 401k rollover while they're still employed, is a couple of different features. The number one is going to be age. Now, not all carriers allow this, or not all employer-sponsored plans allow this, but typically when somebody hits age 59 and a half, that employer might allow this individual to take all of their 401k monies because they've hit that certain age limit, and they could roll that into IRA. Now, that's either one IRA contract or multiple IRA contracts. I typically recommend to say multiple IRA contracts, because each individual is going to have a specific goal in mind that they cannot accomplish with just the 401k, where you could splice up smaller sub-IRA accounts to say one might be set up for growth, one might be set up for income, one might be set up for safety, one might be set up for a inheritance need, a death benefit need. So you could have all these different IRA contracts serve a specific purpose. So hitting that specific age limit, whether it's 59 and a half, whether it's 60, whether it's 62, they might also allow you, if you're doing both an age and also time frame, so however long you've been with that specific company, that private entity, it might be a combination of those two things, of basically you're hitting this age and then you've also been with the company for X amount of years, 10, 15 years, et cetera. That will allow you to go and conduct that rollover. The other option is when they change plan providers. So maybe you might have a Fidelity 401k account, and now you have T. Rowe Price is taking over these types of plans. They might give individuals the options to say, hey, listen, you're still working for the company. What we're doing on the back is we're changing the plan provider to T. Rowe Price, so we're giving everybody the option to roll over their monies into individual retirement accounts, or they could just roll it over or transfer it directly into the new 401k account. So if you're deemed eligible to roll it over, what are some different options that you could do? What sorts of specifically designed IRA contracts can you roll these monies over into? And it really depends upon your situation. What I always recommend is, I said, you want to make sure that first off, you're correlating your goal specifically to your retirement account specifically towards your income goal. So if we have somebody that's eligible, they're still working for a company, they understand that maybe they're 60 years old right now and they want to retire at age 65, they want to stop working at age 65, and they're eligible to roll over their 401k account. Let's say that there's $500,000 into this account. That doesn't mean when they roll it over that match will stop. They could take that portion, roll it over, and then start contributing again to their 401k account that next day after all those monies have been preserved, protected, and rolled over into those new IRA accounts. So that match does not stop, and that's kind of where the most attractive thing about a 401k is that match component. Also, if an individual is placing dollars aside and they're trying to get that tax deduction, obviously that's a benefit as well. So when I'm talking about that income goal, if somebody's 60 years old and they want to retire at age 65, stop working, and maybe after they do their budgeting analysis, they understand they have $50,000 of income that they need at age 65, and they're going to be receiving $30,000 of Social Security income. They don't have a pension. They don't have any rental property income or any other income sources that are coming to them. Well, they could utilize their age right now, preserve a portion of this $500,000 to place it into a specifically designed IRA contract with an income rider to the form of an annuity, and trigger exactly $20,000 for income. So this process is really simple, because all it is just finding what the best contract is, particularly in that person's area, that's looking for a 5-year deferral that's going to produce $20,000 of lifetime income for either them or their spouse. So maybe out of this 500,000, it's only going to require a deposit of 200,000, and it would correlate to that gap. The need is 50,000. They're only receiving 30,000 of Social Security income, so their gap is 20,000. So that's going to be one portion of an IRA. Now this individual has 300,000 left over. Maybe they're concerned about emergency. Is the second one. So typically, rule of thumb is that you want to keep in between 6 to 12 months in emergency funds. So let's just call this $50,000. We could say we could place $50,000 into an IRA money market account. So it's very liquid in case they ever come to that oh my gosh moment. So we have 200,000 that's in an income play with an IRA annuity. We have 50,000 which is with an IRA and a money market account, very liquid. And now we have the third aspect is inflationary protection. And you could accomplish this inflationary protection goal a couple different ways. You could set it up like a laddering strategy off of guaranteed insurance contracts, such as annuities, and you set up little micro shares of annuities. Or you could just say, I want to grow this out and I want to correlate this exactly how I grew my 401k monies. And just make sure that I have better fund options and have an actively managed portfolio rather than utilize like a passive management strategy. You could use a tactical management strategy to say something that's correlating to your risk tolerance, something that has better fund options than what your 401k is, and you could set that plan up in a specifically designed IRA contract. So what we did was we took something that was a big gamble where you're getting hit with, and let me actually clear off the screen. When somebody doesn't look to plan and they just say, "Oh, well, I've grown my money this far, thus far, I don't really care whether I'm eligible or not," they fall victim to something known as reverse dollar cost averaging, where it says if you leave your dollars in the 401k account, you're going to have 401k related fees. You're going to have mutual fund related fees. If you have an advisor that's advising you, they could charge you an advisor fee onto that specific account to give you recommendations. You're subject to downward market loss potential. When you try to pull out income, that's a further negative. You have inflationary risk. You have longevity risk if you live too long. All of these different factors are basically poking holes in the bottom of this bucket and slicing this bucket depending upon how drastic of a downward market loss. So rather than just doing a big question mark, say, oh, I'll worry about that as it happens, I'll just rely on Social Security income, and that's what unfortunately the majority of Americans fall victim to, you could actually set this up into a proper plan. Say, yeah, wow, I contact my human resources department, I understand that, I am eligible for a rollover. I want to now set up a plan specific with individual retirement accounts, IRAs, so that you're not getting hit with that taxation when you do the rollover. And what did we do? We took that 500,000 and we put better strategies. We had one that was specific for the income play, 200,000 for income. You had 50,000 for emergency, and then 250,000 for nice consistent growth with inflationary protection. And this is building up a plan like a perfect puzzle piece, rather than just having that big question mark there. So I hope that all of this makes sense. This topic was supposed to be, how can I roll over my 401k while I'm still employed? The answer is yes, you can, but you have to make sure it's going to really be by a case-by-case basis. And then on top of it, when you're eligible for that, making sure that you're not just randomly throwing it in all into risk, that you could actually now leverage your situation for a specifically designed plan. And that's where we come in. We try to educate individuals. Is we have a 24/7 customer service line. It's 1-800-566-1002. We work on a national basis. And when calling in, what you can expect is you're going to speak to an assistant and you're going to tell them the situation. You'd let them know that, you're calling, that you think you might be eligible for a 401k rollover, even though you're still going to be working at your company and you want to speak with a specialist. And the specialist is going to ask you a slew of questions to really understand that 30,000 foot view and say, okay, what's your situation? What's your goals? Can you accomplish those goals by what you're doing right now, just leaving your money in the 401k? If you can, then we're going to recommend that you just stay put. If there's better ways on how you could actually splice up your dollars in a more efficient route, well, then we're going to educate you on that process and what might be some of the best recommendations there. We're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. I believe it's because of our educational pieces. We send you free reports, personalized videos, different things to make sure that you're very comfortable with the process. At any point in time that you have questions, feel free to give us a call. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you could have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.